Welcome to episode 1 of Off the Lip, a brand new podcast brought to you by Surfing England. I thought I'd introduce myself. My name is Martin Ray. I am Bude Wave Riders chairman, and I've been working as a commentator for Surfing England for a number of years and have a huge amount of respect for our organisation. So when they gave me the opportunity to come and host the podcast, I couldn't have been more excited. And we're here, episode 1, and I'd love to introduce our first guest in a moment. But firstly, I want to thank the Caravan and Motorhome Club. They are our official partner of 2025. They're going to be supporting us throughout this season of our podcast. They are one of our most long-standing sponsors at Surfing England, providing support for at least 10 years. They are going to be headlining once again at the English Nationals coming up very soon at Fistral Beach. All our details coming up about that on our socials. And we just want to say a huge shout out to them. They've supported us in providing opportunities for amazing campsites around the UK, as well as ferries overseas to Europe. And I'm sure our next guest has been able to utilise some of their prizes over some of the events she's won. So without further ado, let's welcome one of the most successful surfers ever to come out of the UK. Let me just read this for you because I can't do this justice, okay? World WSL longboard competitor, 22 times national women champion, okay? That's across shortboard and longboarding. She is currently working in the England juniors as a coach to develop the pathway from that grassroots up. And not only that, she's an ex-Bude girl. I've taught her, and she's an absolutely credit and role model to our community. Welcome to Off the Lip, Emily Currie. You!
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really stoked to be here.
I couldn't think of anyone else I'd have first. You literally are the legend that I wanted to be first on the hot seat, and you're there. So, today I really want to talk to you about a kind of a journey from where it all started as a Grom, like our Groms that we have here in our town, up to getting on the WSL World Longboard Tour as the first English woman ever to do that. Okay, that is incredible. We're going to hear about that in a minute, I hope. Let's take it right back to the start. As a junior, here at Bude, where did it start for you?
Well, I was lucky enough to grow up in Bude, by the beach, always at the beach with my family, with my parents. We had a beach hut, spent long days in the summer down the beach, and the winter. I remember we had our beach hut we first had just in the winter before we had it all year round. So we were down at the beach hut in the winter, just hunkered down. Like, we would go down there because we had it. And it's great, isn't it? Growing up here. And I got into surfing just naturally like that. My uncle kind of taught me and my cousins, and then I think really the point at which I decided that I really enjoyed surfing was when I came to Bude Haven and I joined Bude Wave Riders, which was run by you, and our after school club, and as well as not just after school surfing club, but also we had lunchtime club as well, where we watch surf movies and really geek out on those.
They were good times.
They were really good times. So yeah, I think that they're some of my fondest memories. But that's how I kind of got into it and really got the bug then. And surfing's addictive, like so many other sports, and the adrenaline and buzz that you get from it. So it was just naturally growing up here, but then also with the the influence of school and you and people supporting it, just was really natural.
Yeah, through school you started to develop that competitive passion, didn't you? And there was English schools, you then started to get selection. And I remember our kind of like relationship we had at school where we were managing your competitive junior career that was beginning to take you away from your education, and teachers having to be able to understand that sometimes you couldn't do the work they needed because you were on a beach with no Wi-Fi and you couldn't finish that piece of coursework. And it gave me a real insight into competitive surfing for a child at that time about what you were trying to balance. And still, you've gone on to university, just finished at Plymouth. They couldn't hold you in high regard at that university. You've been able to manage your surfing professional career and still get a really, really established education as well. It's been hard at times though, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been really tough at times. Yeah, like you said, even at secondary school it was quite challenging, but I was lucky enough that I had the likes of you, and especially the PE teachers in my corner. I think you were really able to understand how kind of important it was to support, and you guys kind of helped butter up other teachers, let's say. Um,
Very diplomatic of you, Em.
yeah, it definitely wasn't liked by certain teachers, but yeah, I also understand it. I remember I actually wanted to leave school at one point to focus on my surfing career, and I'm so glad that
Yeah.
that wasn't supported. That I wasn't allowed to do that. I'm really grateful that I stayed in education, and it allowed me to go on. I stayed at sixth form at Budehaven, and then I went on to university. I had a 7-year break actually between secondary school and university, but yeah, again, the support that I had from the university, and I think it's really evolved in that time, supporting, and I think it also has changed with the outlook on surfing as a sport. Originally, surfing's such a big lifestyle sport, or lifestyle rather than a sport for a lot of people, for the majority of people.
Mm.
So I think, especially when I was at school, surfing was looked at as like, bum about sport or bum about lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that has really evolved and changed over the years. And I think now when I went to university, the actual outlook on this, when, now it's an Olympic sport, and, you know, it's got just so much more, it's just held in a much higher regard now, I think, and it's seen on a much better kind of level, more professional level. And I think, yeah, that's really helped. And then I got a lot of support from the university as well, which I was really lucky to have. So, yeah, it has been hard, and university I found really challenging to really juggle. Some of the probably hardest years that I've ever kind of had to encounter with, like career, education, personal life. It's quite a lot to balance, but no, it's been a really good experience, and I think it's taught me quite a lot. And you have to work hard, don't you,
Mm.
for all of those things if you
Absolutely.
want it. So yeah.
And you certainly have. When you were young and you were surfing here in North Cornwall or around the southwest, what challenges and maybe barriers did you sometimes come across as a young female surfer at that time?
I think probably the biggest one was being the minority. I had a couple of friends that I surfed with from school, Beth Wallace being one of them,
Yeah,
Beth Leafield being
yeah,
another, um, you know, and my older friends, the likes of Naomi Taylor, who you'll
yeah,
know, and
yeah.
Sophia, and a bunch of older girls that really took me under their wing and supported and helped me surf. So I was really grateful for those girls. But apart from that, it was just surfing with the boys, which for me was great. I was a big tomboy growing up, always liked to get involved with the boys and give them, a bit of competition, and really get involved. But I think that was a big thing, was being the minority, and quite often being very kind of overshadowed in a male dominated lineup. That would say has evolved massively. I now have been in the lineup multiple times where there's been more women than there's been men. And, I think in Bude we're really lucky. We don't have the crowds that some of the other areas in Cornwall have.
Keep that secret.
Sorry,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
censor that bit out. We actually have, it's evolved quite a lot, and we've got a lot of older women surfers as well.
Mm,
Older women surfers, you've got, younger women surfers, and then you've got the Groms coming up as well, that there's a big group of
mm.
young female Groms coming up. So I think it's really nice actually seeing how that has evolved, and seeing um, the changes in that. And I think that it's really great to see. And I think I now feel so empowered, even if I'm just in the lineup with a few girls. I'm like, wow, this is epic.
Mm.
You all look at each other, you all, you know,
Yeah, you got a shared kind of womanhood that's there.
yeah, absolutely.
We've got surf schools that run women's specific
Mhm.
sessions. Big Blue, for example, here in Bude, they've got their siren session, and they're oversubscribed, aren't they? There are
Mm.
more and more women coming into it to surf together, to enjoy that social experience. Much like many other of the organisations, we've got organisations supporting veterans, because surfing gives that mental health support, doesn't it? That is just as important after busy
Mm.
weeks, busy days at work. Yeah, so yeah, there's a real shift, isn't there? And that's what I wanted you to talk about. You've got those kind of opportunities here locally. You talked about going through school and then into like the community clubs. When did you finally realize, I'm going to turn my hobby and my enjoyment of surfing into my career?
Oh, I think I don't really know. I remember that I wanted to when I was in school. I remember being in sixth form. There was a point where I wanted to leave school, and I wanted to, try and work on my career. I knew that, I think it was around the time, like there was Liam Turner, he'd
Yeah.
left school
Yeah.
and focused on his surfing career. There was Stan Norman that maybe around that time just had, or
Yeah.
whether he was just kind of having that conversation. It was something that I really wanted to do. I'm really glad I didn't, for my personal experience.
Yeah.
It was the right one for me, was to stay in school. But I think it was a point maybe when I left school that I had some conversations with Gull, who I'd been with from quite a young age. I'd been with them since I was 14, and I think it was around the age of 18 that I went and spoke to them and actually signed a contract with them that was a financially paid sponsorship.
Yeah.
And that was the first one that I had, and it kind of has picked up from there, and there's been ebbs and flows in it. With the pandemic, I actually ended up losing all of my financial sponsorship. There was a big pause on that, but have then got it back, and I'm still with Garl. I've signed a great contract with Animal. I'm really fortunate in my position to be paid and be able to make a career out of it. I don't really know if there was actually kind of a point where I was like, oh, I want to do this. I think as a dream, as a young surfer, that was always a dream, to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I remember looking in magazines, Carve, Wavelength, Surf Girl, and seeing these Roxy girls, and I just wanted to be one of them. It was the absolute pinnacle of what
The
I wanted
lifestyle.
to do.
Yeah.
Exactly, just
Yeah.
go and surf all day. That's any surfer's dream, isn't it? And I think, I think it was probably at the point where I actually managed to get a financial sponsorship that then it's like, right, okay, this is possible. How can I gain more to be able to do this as my profession? And lucky enough to be in that position now.
What an amazing journey you've been on to go through that. The those kind of like competitive years that you've had, those multiple 22 national titles, European title, you're current European title holder, aren't you?
Mhm.
Okay. For those out there that may not understand the process of how you get from English title, European titles, or your kind of positions in those events to qualifying for the World Longboard Tour, the WSL Tour, talk us through that monumental year that got you on the World Tour. How does it work?
Okay, so I think it's probably worth explaining quickly that how lucky we are to have like so many competitions in England and Britain, to be able to actually create a pathway to put you onto the European scene.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's so important that we have those, because without those competitions, without that experience, then if you step into a bigger realm like Europe, where you're against a different category of competitor, it's really difficult to transition. So we're really fortunate to have that, and that has helped me in my experience, competing in those since I was 14. But for the WSL, for the World Tour, you have to qualify through your region. So for me, it's Europe, and you go into Europe and go onto the European Tour and compete in the events that they have. So in the past, we've had up to 5 events. Unfortunately, that's been cut down quite a lot. So last year, or for me to qualify, it was 2 events. There was Boardmasters in August, and then another event in Spain in the June. So there was quite a long period between those events. This year, there's 3 events. We've got Boardmasters, which we've already had, and then in May we've got a competition in France, and then in June we've got a competition in Spain, and then that will be what determines who will be on the world tour.
And how many surfers from Europe can go through?
Only one.
So
So
it's the top.
yeah, so
Yeah.
from the way that it works on the WSL tour, you've got the top 10 requalify, and then after that you have one surfer from each region that qualifies on, and then a number of wildcards, of season wildcards and event wildcards. So it's a really great way to do it with, the top 10. It follows the same as the CT, really.
Yeah.
You've got the top 10 who requalify, the best 10, and then by inviting one person, the best person from each region, onto the tour.
So it spreads all of the ability to get onto that world tour across a global scale, and you're qualifying in each of your regions.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing is it's quite hard to get on, because it's only,
Yeah.
one person. It would be
Yeah.
great if that was opened up a little bit more, but at the end of the day, it's a really tight-knit small group of the world's best surfers, so it has to, stay that way, essentially.
So you were your event first, you said in the season that you qualified for the World Tour, the first event was Boardmasters, which you won.
No,
Beg pardon. Say second. My
Yeah.
apologies. So what did you need to get for the score, for the position in your second event to be able to get to the first position and qualify for the World Tour? What did you need?
So I needed to get into the quarterfinals to qualify just, off my own back.
Yeah.
Nobody else could have that position if I got into the quarterfinals. The semi-finals, sorry.
Yeah.
So I had a good goal, something good to focus on, following on from second at Boardmasters. I knew that goal was in reach.
Yeah.
It was a good position to be in. I just needed to perform well. Unfortunately, I had quite the shocker. The waves were difficult. The conditions were awful, and I just didn't have. I had a very difficult heat. I was in with one of the World Tour surfers, Alice, who won at Boardmasters. She's a world champion. Incredible surfer, and a couple of other girls. I can't quite remember who was in my heat now, but I just didn't perform well enough to get through. And that's as simple as it is in these situations. And unfortunately, I bowed out in the quarterfinals, and it then meant that I had to sit on the beach and wait to see how two other competitors who were in contention, how they got on, to see whether I would qualify or if one of those
would
qualify.
pip you above.
Yeah, so it was quite
nerve wracking, like nail biting.
Yeah.
So when you finally realised you had, what did that feel like?
Oh, it was indescribable. I think it was a really weird sensation because my fate is in the hands of other people, which is not the position I wanted to be in. I wanted to have, done it completely myself and just relied on my own ability to get there. But to not have had that and to actually be there, like waiting, and it was awful. But it was an absolutely incredible feeling when I realised that actually I had qualified, and that dream that I had for so long, was now mine. It now wasn't a dream, it was a reality, and I was then going to Australia in 3 weeks' time.
To start the World Tour?
To start the World Tour, yeah. It was just, you work so hard, don't you, for dreams and these things that you really want to achieve, and when they actually happen, I don't think you can quite believe that they've happened yet. And in that moment, it was kind of disbelief for sure, and it was like, has it happened? I was kind of waiting for it to confirm. Yeah, it's happened. Oh my gosh. Do I scream? Do I cry?
It makes the hairs on my arm stand up. That is just an amazing thing that you're describing, Emily. I'm so proud of you for watching you grow up to where you got. It's just amazing. So you get on the World Tour. Okay, you're 3 weeks later. You're in Australia. Okay, Bells, am I right? Was the first event?
Bells, yeah.
And then you've surfed through the World Tour at Bells, and then you're in an Dubai wave pool. Is it Dubai?
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi, beg your pardon. I remember seeing some footage of you training at night because it was so hot during the day, and or is it just that people got slots that they surfed and you just had to surf when you had to?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what the event was like in a wave pool in Abu Dhabi.
It was pretty wild. Yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced anything quite like it. I've always wanted to surf the wave pool, Kelly's wave pool, in California. And then, I got this opportunity to go to Abu Dhabi and compete in the first event that had been held there. It wasn't open to the public yet. It was pretty, crazy. And it was a really unique event, and everybody got, time slots. So the way that the wave works is, have you surfed Snowdonia?
I have in the past before. Sadly, it's closed.
Yeah. I think it's a great wave pool, or it was a great.
You had a really long ride. You did.
Yeah, pretty similar to that, where you paddle into the pool, you sit next to the fence and you're waiting for the sled to start and to run, and you ride one wave one way, and then you've got a bit of a break, and then you ride the wave the other way. So everybody had time slots, and I think it was, I want to say, we had 8 waves each over 3 days. The way that it ran was from in the morning to the evening, and you've got, I think it was 24 surfers, female surfers, and 24 male surfers. So you've got 48 surfers that they're trying to get through during that time, and slot everybody in having 8 waves before the contest starts in 3 days. It was very
Logistical.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you weren't there on time, you missed your wave, which thankfully that didn't happen to anybody.
Yeah.
But it was it was really well organized and but very strict.
And that must be hard, because if you go to an event and you're surfing at a beach, you can paddle out, you can surf there for as long as you want, catch as many waves as you want, really feel the sandbanks if they're sand or if it's on a reef. You're going to surf significantly more waves than just 8 waves in preparation for a professional event. So that must have been a really intense feeling when you first paddled into your first competitive wave of the event. And I'm sure that must have felt totally different to perhaps some of the surfing of the beaching events.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I definitely didn't feel as prepared as I normally would have been for another event where you go out, a week early, you surf, multiple times a day, really kind of trying to feel out, like you said, where the banks are and, surfing different tides. I guess that's one great thing about the wave pool is the wave doesn't change because there's no tide, there's, no change in that sense. But I definitely didn't feel like 8 waves was preparation enough. I kind of felt like I'd only just really found my feet kind of the last few waves, which is, a weird position to be in. And also I was quite aware as well that a lot of the surfers on the World Tour had already surfed the wave in California. And although it was different, you've got that experience and you've got, that experience to take with you into this one of knowing kind of what the wave is like. It is similar in a lot of ways. But yeah, it was different, but I just tried to embrace the experience totally for what it was and just, go out there. I was, honoured to be on the World Tour as it was and
Living your dream.
to be there, absolutely. And I was just trying to take whatever I could from it and make the best experience out of it. And I went with my mum, which was really special. And yeah, it was an incredible event. So it was a very positive event, even though I didn't maybe perform how I would have liked to. I definitely didn't perform my best, and I didn't get the result I would have liked to. But overall, an incredible experience that I'll never forget.
Yeah, you've got to take all of those positives from those situations. There's no reason to dwell on those negatives. We've obviously seen you compete throughout that tour. There must have been some real standout highlights of being on the World Tour and traveling the globe. Where do you feel you had your greatest memories from that year?
Oh gosh, I think it probably has to be Bells. It's a wave that I've always wanted to surf. It's been, I remember having magazine cutouts on my bedroom
Me too.
wall
Yeah.
when I was a child. And, watching the likes of surfers that are my inspirations like Steph Gilmore, Mick Fanning, watching them out there, it's somewhere that was really special that I really just have always wanted to surf. And I actually went out there and I met up with the Chesapeaques. They came and supported me at Bells, which was just incredible.
Yeah, so locals from Bude that have moved over to Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're family friends, and it was really, really special to see them and have that kind of home support as such. And I think just being at Bells and being part of the event and the place, about how special it is, and being there with my friends as well, because I've known quite a few of the girls on the World Tour for like a long time, so hanging out with my friends again who I hadn't seen for a while, being there with Ben, being part of the welcomed event that they put on for us was just incredible. All the there's a lot of special history in that.
Big part of Aboriginal culture in that area of Victoria, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and you really feel it in the area and on the beach. So I think that's got to be the highlight place. But also being at Huntington at the US Open was absolutely incredible. And one of my best mates, Rach, ended up taking out the event and winning it, and that was just a mega moment. That was absolutely incredible. I was staying with her and Alice at Rachel's family home, so that was really nice to be around her and her family and hanging out with all of them, and going and surfing Sano and just cruising around California was pretty great. But then for her taking out that event, that was just a really great thing.
It's just, you kind of named the names of surfing's history. Bells Beach, one of the longest standing events ever on the World Tour. I mean, it's had so many crowned Bell champions. Huntington Beach is historically one of the biggest congregations of surfing companies. It's a huge event, the US Open as they call it, and then with the WSL there. I remember watching it live and shouting on my screen when you were competing. You've had an amazing year, but what maybe some people out there that are watching this don't realize that it's actually been captured. You've had your media kind of entourage in the games of Mora Media, which are capturing our podcast, and it's great to have them on board. These guys, they followed you on that journey, and you're actually releasing 4 episodes of your journey. So episode 1's already come out, am I right? And when's the next one coming out? And tell me a little bit about that kind of like whole big video journey that you went on.
Yeah, so episode 2 comes out on Thursday. Yeah, really excited to release that one. It's a great episode,
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah, it's been incredible working with James and having James and Mora follow this year. James approached me pre going out to the European Championships, and he said, I'd love to, work with you, do some kind of look at capturing a bit of your competitive career. And I was like, that sounds wonderful. What a thing to have recorded, and even just for personal personal experience and something to look back on, it will be epic in years to come.
Yeah.
And even actually now looking back at that year, it's been the way that James has captured it. It's just been so special and wonderful, and it's amazing for me to see, because it's captured moments that I guess I forget, or that I'm kind of not really aware that have been such a big moment, and also for my family, and to be able to showcase it to everybody as well has been brilliant. But no, I'm so grateful for the way that James has captured it. It's been really special, and it's been amazing to have somebody come along, and it's also that support, and having somebody right there through it all.
In your corner.
James has seen it all this year, and it's been really, really great to work with him and create something really special that I'm really proud to be releasing.
Yeah, so it's free to watch. So it's on YouTube. I've already watched episode 1. I've spoke to a couple of the Groms at school who've already seen it. Have you seen it? And I was like, yeah, it's amazing. And I'm itching for it. Like, it's my new binge watch. I want to watch as soon as it comes out. It's like having a photo album that you'll have taken of a holiday or something like that. But you've got 4 incredible episodes that is the most amazing year of your life so far. Okay, and how lucky are you? Okay, you mentioned your heroes like Mick Fanning and Steph Gilmore. They are shortboarders. You're one of a unique group of people, Em, that you don't just stick to one discipline that what you ride. You ride longboard incredibly well, but you also ride shortboard. What makes you choose which craft you're going to paddle out in on a day?
Oh, good question. I just generally just look at the conditions, and not even the conditions, but also just what I feel like. I spent a long time just shortboarding and kind of neglecting longboarding, just because I just found shortboarding more fun, which I don't think I've ever said out loud to anybody before.
No one's heard.
Sorry to the longboarding community. Black mark next to my name. But I think then that kind of evolved, and I really got the bug for longboarding, and then I started prioritizing that a lot more. And over the last couple of years, I probably haven't I can probably count the amount of times I've ridden my shortboard on 2 hands, which has completely flipped from what it used to be when I was growing up. But I've really fell in love with longboarding, and not just longboarding, but just riding different craft and actually exploring that kind of side of it, riding twinnies, riding mid-lengths, just really enjoying just surfing for what it is and how I feel in the moment, and also just what the conditions and the waves are allowing. I've been lucky enough that I've been able to ride longboard and shortboards. Both of them have got a great deal with Skin Dog surfboards, and they've really allowed that and really been able to let me follow my passion in both of them. But yeah, I really enjoy riding both, and I think it is because surfing is an expression of feelings and art and that creativity and that kind of thing. It's really really nice to just be able to choose what you want to ride on the day, and go from there. I think that's something that I'm really going to embrace as well going forward. I think I went through a small period where I was actually like, I need to longboard because I've got this competition coming up, or vice versa, I need to shortboard because I've got the competition coming up. And actually so much more than that. You know, surfing's way bigger than that,
Yeah.
and I think you get out of it or you get more out of it if you're doing it for the reason that you love it, rather than, you know, the next event that's coming up. There is a lot to say about training.
Yeah, of
You
course.
do have to do that, and
Of
as an
course, yeah.
athlete, you do have to do those things and actually prioritize one over the other. But yeah, really, it's just about how I'm feeling.
I love that. Feeling should be what drives us, and surfing is a very, very emotional feeling and
Mm.
connection with the waves or the people you're surfing with, where they're riding. I'm going to come to the question that I'm really excited to see. You know, you're still competing. You're going to still be competing in certain events around, but your role in terms of junior surfing as a coach is now expanding. You were out in El Salvador last year. You watched Lucas narrowly avoid coming first. He again just fell second. You were in the corner with his father, Ben, and Bo, Jamie, the team manager. What is the coaching aspect now for you, giving you, which your career has obviously given you? What are you doing giving back?
Oh, it's amazing to be involved, and I think it's a really exciting time to be involved as well. And I'm really enjoying how my career is evolving to that kind of side. It's a, you know, career transition, isn't it? And although I'm not yet ready to step down from competing, I'm enjoying actually moving into that coaching role as well. And I think coaching has always been something I wanted to do, and I really enjoy the progressive side of coaching and the, you know, kind of advanced elite side, because it's really, and even in intermediate side, I really enjoy, rather than just, you know, the kind of surf coach role of meeting somebody for the first, you know, once and
Yeah.
taking them for a surf lesson. Being able to actually work with one person or work with a group of people continuously
Yeah.
is a really special thing, you know, of making a relationship and building a relationship. And I think that for me, I'm such a connection kind of person that I kind of thrive more in those opportunities and
Yeah.
those environments and those relationships. It's been amazing being a part of that. And like you said, I went out to El Salvador, and that was a great experience with the team. Jamie actually wasn't there. Simon Nicholson stepped in for Jamie, which he was an absolutely incredible addition to the team. And he did an amazing job. And Karma, it was great being with Karma.
Yeah.
Karma's somebody I went on a surf trip with when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was great surfing and being involved in that environment with her and Ben, obviously, that I know really well, and Bo.
Yeah.
It was a great team, and we had an amazing time, and the juniors did so well. And I think I stepped out of my comfort zone in that situation, because I'd never been in an environment like that on the other side. And that was a big thing, and it was a great experience, and I think I learnt a lot, and I took away a lot from that. I'd already just been in El Salvador with the longboard team, so I stayed out there and for an extra 3 weeks with the junior team, and it was just crazy different. You know, you go from being there for yourself and the team, but as an athlete and a part of an adult team, and then you go into this responsibility setting where now, you know, I still think of myself as a child, so that was like massive imposter syndrome kind of situation. But it was great, and I took so much away from it, and it was really good lessons learned and that kind of thing. And I'm really excited to be involved with the junior team and developing my coaching career to hopefully give back and be able to support the next generation of athletes, because it's such an exciting time, and I'm really, really excited to be a part of it. And as my kind of career transitions more into coaching, as I step away from the competitive side, not yet, but as I do, I think it will just keep building to be more of an exciting time. And I think being part of the coaching team in El Salvador, just made me realize that is what I want to do, and that is where I want to be. So I'm stoked to be part of a good crew that are supporting those juniors.
They're so lucky to have you, Em. There is no one that I've met that's had such an incredible impact on surfing here in the UK for such a long time. You should be very proud of yourself. And there are so many young girls who aspire to be you. You know, we've got Caitlin Simmers, we've got Erin Brooks, but we've got Emily Currie. Okay. And you and many of the girls that you've surfed with through your junior career have paved the way for our young girls coming through. My last thing, we've got loads of Groms out there, loads of Groms that are starting their journey. If you could summarize in one kind of like statement, what do you think they need to do to go out and achieve their dreams like you?
I think give it your all, dream big, because, to get there, you need to dream, and those dreams are possibilities, and, work hard, take all the opportunities that you can, and, do everything to make it happen. Um, I think the Groms that we've got coming up in Bude alone is insane. It's absolutely amazing to see.
Yeah.
But in the
As
UK
well as
as
many
well.
of the other places, we know that
Yeah.
we're only slightly biased, but there are amazing surfers across the whole of the UK, isn't there? The standard is
they're
off the
really,
chart.
yeah, and in all these different areas, and I think it's amazing to see, and it's really exciting time.
Emily, it's great being have on our very first episode on Off the Lip. I couldn't be more lucky to have you, and I look forward to hearing your successes this year, both as a competitor and what you've been giving back to the coaches. Thank you for coming to join us.
Thank you. It has been an honour.
You. Wow, what a great first episode with Emily Currie. It was so good to hear her insights and find out all about her journey last year. I want to thank Caravan and Motorhome Club, our official partner supporting us throughout the podcast this year, and Mora Media House, who are going to be capturing the action. It's great to have them on board for the year. If any of you would have questions, or perhaps you want to hear something, or you're a person in the UK surfing, not just competitive, we'd love to hear from old school legends of local communities, those of you within the surf industry running local surf shops. We want to hear everyone and being able to offer that broad, diverse opportunity to find about UK surfing on our show. So please get in touch and comment below. It's really great to see who could be on our next show, and I can't wait to explore more stories and get an insight behind the national governing body. See you next time.